Ladies and gentlemen, if you truly want to change your life completely, you must first understand something very simple but very powerful. Your life does not change by chance. It changes by choice. You see, most people are waiting. They're waiting for the economy to change, waiting for their boss to notice them, waiting for their family to understand them, waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. But lightning rarely strikes twice in the same place, and success rarely visits those who wait. Life changes when you change. If you want better results, you must become a better person. If you want more income, you must develop more value. If you want stronger relationships, you must become more patient, more understanding, more disciplined. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. The first step to completely changing your life is taking full responsibility. Not partial responsibility, not responsibility when it's convenient, full responsibility. Where you are today, financially, emotionally, physically, is the result of your past decisions. That may sound harsh, but it is also empowering. Because if your decisions created your current life, then new decisions can create a new one. You are not a tree. You are not stuck. If you don't like where you are, move. Change the books you read. Change the people you listen to. Change the habits you tolerate. Every day you are either designing your future or drifting away from it. The second key is discipline. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. Everyone feels inspired on January 1st. Very few are still disciplined on February 1st. Small disciplines repeated daily create massive transformation. If you read 10 pages a day, that's about 650 pages a year. That can change your mind. If you save a small portion of every paycheck, that can change your finances. If you exercise 30 minutes a day, that can change your health. The miracle is not in doing something extraordinary once. It's in doing something ordinary consistently. Success is not a giant leap. It's a series of small, smart choices stacked over time. The third step is to guard your mind. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds, weeds will grow automatically. Negative conversations, gossip, excuses, blame, these are weeds. Books, mentorship, thoughtful conversations, reflection, these are seeds. What you allow into your mind eventually shows up in your life. Change your input, and you will change your output. And finally, raise your standards. Most people don't lack ability. They lack standards. They accept being average. They tolerate being late. They excuse being unprepared. But the moment you say, that's not who I am anymore, everything shifts. Your life changes the day you decide that average is unacceptable. You don't need a new year to start. You need a new decision. You don't need more time. You need more intention. The same 24 hours that someone else uses to build a dream can either build yours or build your excuses. The future does not get better by hope. It gets better by plan. Write down your goals. Be specific. What do you want financially? What do you want physically? What do you want in your relationships? Clarity creates power. A vague goal produces vague results. A clear goal produces focused action. And remember this, change is uncomfortable. Growth stretches you. Discipline feels heavy before it feels rewarding. But staying the same is also painful. It's just a slower kind of pain. So choose your pain wisely. 5 years from now, you will arrive. The question is where. That destination is being shaped by what you do today. Your habits are voting for your future. You can change your life completely, not overnight, but over time, not by wishing, but by working, not by blaming, but by building. Start today, improve one habit, read one chapter, save $1, make one better choice, then repeat it tomorrow. Because when you change, everything changes. If you truly want to change your life, the first and most powerful step is taking full responsibility. And I don't mean partial responsibility. I don't mean responsibility when things are going well. I mean complete ownership of where you are and where you're going. Now that can be uncomfortable. It's much easier to blame the economy, blame your boss, blame your parents, blame your past, blame your lack of opportunity. But here's the truth, as long as you blame, you remain powerless. The moment you accept responsibility, you gain control. You see, responsibility is not a burden. It is a privilege. It means the pen is in your hand. It means you are the author of the next chapter. Where you are today is the result of the choices you've made up until now. The books you read or didn't read, the habits you built or neglected, the risks you took or avoided, the disciplines you practiced or ignored. That realization can sting a little. But it should also excite you, because if your past decisions created your current reality, then new decisions can create a brand new future. You are not a tree. You are not stuck in one place. If you don't like your job, you can learn new skills. If you don't like your financial situation, you can change your spending habits and increase your value. If you don't like your health, you can adjust your diet and exercise. The key word is can. You have the ability. But ability means nothing without responsibility. Here's what most people do. They wait for something external to change before they change. They say, when I get a better opportunity, then I'll improve. Or, when I feel more motivated, then I'll get serious. But successful people flip that thinking. They say, I will improve first, and then the opportunity will come. Responsibility means you go first. It means you stop asking, why is this happening to me? and start asking, what can I do about it? That one question alone can change the direction of your life. Because the first question creates frustration. The second question creates action. And let me tell you something important. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself with guilt. Guilt is heavy and unproductive. Responsibility is different. Responsibility says, I may not have controlled everything that happened, but I control what happens next. Maybe you had a difficult past. Maybe you were treated unfairly. Maybe you didn't have the advantages others had. That may be true. But you must decide whether your past will be an anchor or a lesson. You cannot drive forward while staring constantly in the rearview mirror. The day you say, from this day forward, I am responsible, is the day your power returns. Responsibility shows up in small decisions. It shows up when the alarm clock rings in the morning. You can blame being tired, or you can take responsibility and get up. It shows up in your finances. You can blame low income, or you can take responsibility for increasing your skills. It shows up in relationships. You can blame misunderstanding, or you can take responsibility for communicating better. Small moments, big impact. Here's another truth: responsibility attracts respect. When you are the kind of person who says, it's on me, people notice. Employers notice, partners notice, friends notice, because responsible people are rare. Most people are experts at excuses. Excuses sound intelligent. They sound reasonable, but they are thieves. They steal your future quietly. If you say, I'm not successful because I didn't get the right education, that excuse will keep you from reading one book tonight. If you say, I'm not fit because I don't have time, that excuse will keep you from walking for 20 minutes. The excuse feels comforting in the moment, but it compounds into regret. Responsibility compounds into growth. And here's something powerful: when you accept responsibility, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a student of life. Instead of complaining about problems, you start asking, what is this teaching me? Problems become training, challenges become classrooms. That shift alone can completely change your emotional life. Responsible people don't deny problems. They just refuse to let problems define them. They understand that setbacks are temporary, but quitting is permanent. They understand that failure is feedback, not identity. When you take responsibility, you also take control of your habits. And habits shape destiny. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction immediately. And direction, sustained over time, determines destination. Let's say you decide today to take responsibility for your learning. You read 10 pages a day. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel life-changing in 1 week, but over a year, over 5 years. That decision alone separates you from the crowd. Responsibility is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet and consistent. It's saying no when others say yes to distractions. It's preparing when others are procrastinating. It's planning when others are drifting. And here's what's fascinating. At first, responsible living feels difficult. But later it becomes freedom. Financial responsibility becomes financial independence. Physical responsibility becomes energy and confidence. Emotional responsibility becomes stronger relationships. The pain of responsibility is temporary. The pain of regret is lasting. So if you truly want to change your life completely, start by standing in front of the mirror and having an honest conversation. Not a harsh one, not a condemning one, an honest one. Ask yourself, where am I settling? Where am I blaming? Where am I waiting instead of acting? Then make a new decision. You don't need to change everything in one day. You just need to change ownership. Once you own your life, you can redesign it. Once you accept responsibility, you can rewrite the story. And remember this: no one is coming to rescue you. But the good news is, you don't need rescuing. You need responsibility. Because responsibility is the doorway to power. The moment you say, my life is my responsibility, you stop drifting and start directing. And when you start directing your life, everything begins to change. If you want to change your life completely, you must understand the power of daily discipline. Not occasional effort. Not emotional bursts of motivation. Daily discipline. Motivation is powerful, but it is temporary. It comes and goes like the wind. Some mornings you feel strong, focused, ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you feel tired, distracted, uninspired. If you only act when you feel motivated, your progress will always be inconsistent. And inconsistent action produces inconsistent results. Discipline, however, is different. Discipline is a decision, not a feeling. It is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. That is where transformation begins. Success is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in the quiet, often unnoticed choices you make every single day. The choice to read instead of scroll. The choice to save instead of spend. The choice to wake up early instead of hitting the snooze button. These small choices may seem insignificant, but over time they compound into extraordinary results. Here is something you must remember. We suffer from one of two pains in life: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. The pain of getting up early to work on your goals might last a few minutes. The pain of looking back 5 years from now and realizing you wasted your potential. That lasts much longer. Daily discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You can have the best intentions in the world. You can write down beautiful goals. You can attend seminars and listen to inspiring speeches. But without daily disciplined action, nothing changes. Dreams require structure. Let's talk about something simple. If you improve just 1% each day, think about what happens over a year. It doesn't look dramatic today. It doesn't look dramatic tomorrow. But over time, that steady improvement creates distance between you and the person you used to be. Discipline is not about huge leaps. It's about steady steps. You don't have to read an entire book in one night. Read 10 pages. You don't have to run a marathon tomorrow. Walk for 20 minutes. You don't have to master a skill in a week. Practice for 30 minutes a day. Small disciplines repeated daily create massive change. And here's the challenge: the results of discipline are delayed. That's why most people quit. They expect immediate rewards. They go to the gym for a week and expect a different body. They save money for a month and expect financial freedom. When results don't appear instantly, they become discouraged. But discipline requires faith. Faith that today's effort will produce tomorrow's reward. Farmers understand this. They plant seeds and wait. They water and wait. They nurture and wait. They don't dig up the seed every morning to see if it's growing. They trust the process. Your goals are the same way. Daily disciplined action is planting seeds. The harvest comes later. The problem is not that people don't know what to do. Most people know. They know they should exercise. They know they should read more. They know they should manage their money wisely. The gap is not knowledge. The gap is discipline. And discipline begins with self-control. Self-control is the ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. In the moment, comfort is attractive. Distraction is easy. Entertainment is convenient. But what do you want most? A better future, a stronger body, a growing income, a life of influence and freedom. When you remember what you want most, it becomes easier to sacrifice what you want now. Daily discipline also builds confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-respect grows. When you say, I will wake up at 6, and you do it, you build trust with yourself. When you say, I will finish this task, and you complete it, your confidence increases. When you constantly break promises to yourself, your confidence weakens. You begin to doubt your own word. Discipline strengthens your identity. It turns you into someone reliable, not just to others, but to yourself. And here is something powerful: discipline creates freedom. It may seem like the opposite. It may seem restrictive, but financial discipline creates financial freedom. Health discipline creates physical freedom. Time discipline creates flexibility. When you manage yourself well, you earn the right to greater choices later. Undisciplined living feels free in the moment. You eat whatever you want, spend whatever you want, do whatever you feel like. But later, that lack of discipline creates limitation. Debt limits your choices. Poor health limits your energy. Wasted time limits your opportunities. Discipline today expands options tomorrow. You must also learn to build routines. Routines remove the need for constant decision-making. If you decide once that you will work on your goals every morning at a certain time, you don't debate it daily. It becomes automatic. Successful people don't rely on willpower alone. They design systems that support their discipline. Environment matters too. Surround yourself with people who respect discipline. Read books that reinforce it. Listen to ideas that strengthen it. If you constantly surround yourself with distraction, your discipline will weaken. But if you build an environment that supports growth, discipline becomes easier. And remember this, you will not always feel like it. There will be days when you are tired, frustrated, discouraged. That is normal. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. If you miss a day, don't miss two. If you fall short, reset quickly. Keep moving forward. The person who changes their life is not the most talented, not the most connected, not the most lucky. It is the one who shows up consistently, day after day, month after month. In 5 years, the difference between where you are and where you could be will come down to your daily disciplines. What you did repeatedly, what you ignored repeatedly. So start small. Choose one discipline, strengthen it, then add another. Build momentum. Let your actions align with your ambitions. Because at the end of the day, your future is not decided by what you intend to do. It is decided by what you do daily. And when daily discipline becomes your lifestyle, complete life change is not a possibility. It becomes an inevitability. If you truly want to change your life completely, you must learn to guard and develop your mind. Your mind is the control center of your life. Everything begins there. Every decision, every action, every habit, every result. It all starts with what you think. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant good seeds, you'll grow something valuable. If you neglect it, weeds will grow automatically. And here's the important part. You don't have to plant weeds. They grow by default. Negativity, doubt, fear, worry, excuses, they require no invitation. They show up on their own. Success, however, must be planted intentionally. If you allow negative influences into your mind every day, you cannot expect a positive life. If you constantly listen to gossip, complaints, criticism, and limitation, those ideas begin to shape your beliefs. And beliefs shape behavior. You must become selective about what you allow into your mental space. Think about it. Would you allow someone to walk into your home every day and dump trash on your living room floor? Of course not. But many people allow others to dump mental trash into their minds daily. News filled with fear, conversations filled with blame, social media filled with comparison. And then they wonder why they feel discouraged. Guarding your mind means protecting it from unnecessary negativity. This does not mean you ignore reality. It means you refuse to let negativity control your perspective. It means you become aware of what influences you. Every book you read, every conversation you engage in, every video you watch, it is shaping your thinking in subtle ways. The question is it shaping you for growth or for stagnation? Developing your mind is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Your income rarely exceeds your level of personal development for long. If you want to earn more, you must learn more. If you want to lead better, you must think better. If you want stronger relationships, you must understand people better. Personal development is the foundation of lasting success. Now here is something powerful. You become like the people you spend the most time with. Their attitudes influence yours. Their standards influence yours. Their beliefs influence yours. If you surround yourself with people who complain about everything, you will begin to complain. If you surround yourself with people who are ambitious, disciplined, and growth-oriented, you will begin to rise. Choose your associations carefully. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do need to limit exposure to influences that weaken your thinking. Spend more time with people who challenge you to grow. Spend more time with ideas that stretch your imagination. Books are one of the greatest tools for developing your mind. A book allows you to sit with someone who has spent decades learning, failing, succeeding, and refining their wisdom. For a small investment of time and money, you gain access to insight that could save you years of mistakes. If you read 10 pages a day, that habit alone can transform your thinking within a year. And when your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your life changes. Guarding your mind also means paying attention to self-talk. The conversation you have with yourself is powerful. If you constantly say, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never succeed," "This is too hard," you are programming your mind for defeat. Your brain listens to you. Replace limiting thoughts with empowering ones. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," ask, "How can I learn to do this?" Instead of saying, "I'm not capable," say, "I am capable of growth." The words you repeat internally become beliefs, and beliefs determine performance. Your mind does not distinguish strongly between what is real and what is repeated. So repeat strength, repeat possibility. Repeat growth. Another key to developing your mind is reflection. Take time to think. Most people are so busy reacting that they never pause to reflect. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you simply repeat mistakes. At the end of each day, ask yourself simple questions. What did I learn today? What did I do well? What can I improve tomorrow? Those small moments of evaluation sharpen your awareness, and awareness creates improvement. Guarding your mind also means setting clear goals. A focused mind is a powerful mind. When you know what you want, you filter information differently. You look for opportunities instead of obstacles. You notice resources instead of excuses. An unfocused mind drifts. A focused mind directs. Be careful about comparison as well. Comparison steals joy and distorts perspective. There will always be someone ahead of you. There will always be someone behind you. The only meaningful comparison is who you were yesterday. Measure growth against your own potential. Develop patience in your thinking. Growth takes time. When you guard your mind against unrealistic expectations, you reduce frustration. You understand that progress is often slow at first, but slow progress is still progress. And remember this, whatever dominates your mind will influence your life. If fear dominates your thinking, you will hesitate. If doubt dominates your thinking, you will shrink. If vision dominates your thinking, you will act boldly. Feed your mind vision. Spend time imagining what is possible for your life. See yourself improving. See yourself succeeding. See yourself disciplined and focused. The mind moves toward the pictures it holds consistently. You must treat your mind like a valuable asset, because it is. More valuable than money. More valuable than possessions. Your mind determines how you use everything else. If you strengthen your body but neglect your mind, your growth will be limited. But if you strengthen your mind, you will find ways to improve every other area. Change your mental diet and you will change your destiny. Guard it from negativity. Develop it with knowledge. Strengthen it with positive associations. Sharpen it with reflection. Direct it with clear goals. Because when you win the battle in your mind, the victories in your life begin to follow. And when your thinking transforms, your entire world begins to transform with it. If you want to change your life in a lasting and powerful way, you must come to a defining moment where you decide that average is no longer acceptable. That moment is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, internal, and firm. It is the moment you raise your standards. Your standards shape your reality more than your goals ever will. Goals tell you what you want. Standards tell you what you will accept, and what you accept determines where you stay. Most people are not stuck because they lack talent. They are stuck because they have become comfortable. Comfortable with being a little late. Comfortable with being a little unprepared. Comfortable with being a little out of shape. Comfortable with earning just enough. Comfortable with complaining instead of correcting. Comfort is subtle. It whispers, "This is good enough." And over time, good enough becomes a ceiling. When you raise your standards, you remove that ceiling. A standard is a personal rule. It is a decision about who you are and how you operate. It is not dependent on mood. It is not dependent on convenience. It is a commitment to a level of behavior that reflects your potential. For example, if you decide, "I am a person who finishes what I start," that becomes a standard. Now, quitting halfway feels unnatural. It feels inconsistent with who you are. Your identity begins to guide your actions. And identity is powerful. If your identity is casual, your actions will be casual. If your identity is disciplined, your actions will follow. When you raise your standards, you are redefining your identity. You are saying, "This is who I am now." You cannot consistently perform above the level of your self-image. So if you want higher performance, you must create a higher self-image through higher standards. Now let's be clear, raising your standards does not mean becoming rigid or unrealistic. It means becoming intentional. It means deciding that your time matters, your health matters, your word matters, your growth matters. If your standard is excellence in preparation, you prepare thoroughly, even when no one is watching. If your standard is integrity, you keep your word, even when it costs you something. If your standard is growth, you learn continuously, even when you're already doing well. Standards influence the small moments, and life is built in small moments. You don't suddenly become successful. You gradually become successful by honoring higher standards day after day. You wake up when you said you would. You complete the task you committed to. You review your progress. You improve your skills. You choose discipline over distraction. Each action may seem minor, but collectively they redefine your trajectory. One of the greatest dangers in life is lowering your standards to match your environment. If you are surrounded by people who are satisfied with mediocrity, it becomes tempting to relax your effort. It becomes tempting to say, "Everyone else is doing the same." But leadership begins with personal standards. You must decide that your growth is not negotiable. You must decide that drifting is not acceptable. You must decide that excuses are not acceptable. And when you make that decision, you may stand out. That is not a disadvantage. That is a sign of direction. High standards require courage, because sometimes they require you to say no. No to distractions. No to habits that weaken you. No to conversations that pull you down. No to opportunities that compromise your values. Every time you say no to something below your standard, you say yes to your future. Standards also shape resilience. When your standards are low, obstacles stop you easily. A little criticism discourages you. A small setback causes you to quit. But when your standards are high, quitting is not part of your vocabulary. You may adjust your strategy, but you do not lower your commitment. You say, "This is who I am. I do not give up easily." That internal firmness builds strength. Raising your standards also improves how others treat you. People respond to the level you project. If you carry yourself with discipline, preparation, and respect, people notice. If you demonstrate reliability, people trust you. Your standards silently communicate your value. And here is something important: you do not raise standards once. You raise them repeatedly. As you grow, your standards must grow. What was once difficult becomes normal. What was once impressive becomes expected. Growth is progressive. Perhaps last year your standard was simply consistency. This year your standard might be excellence. Next year it might be leadership. Each level requires refinement. Each level requires a stronger identity. But remember, raising standards begins internally before it appears externally. It starts with a decision. A decision that you are capable of more. A decision that your potential deserves effort. A decision that you will no longer settle for less than your best. You don't have to announce it to the world. In fact, it's often better if you don't. Let your actions speak. Let your preparation speak. Let your discipline speak. Over time, the difference between you and the average person will widen. Not because you are more gifted. Not because you are more fortunate. But because you refuse to tolerate mediocrity in yourself. 5 years from now, your life will reflect the standards you set today. If your standards remain low, your results will remain limited. If your standards rise, your performance rises. And when performance rises consistently, opportunities expand. Your income will eventually match your standards. Your health will eventually match your standards. Your relationships will eventually match your standards. So take an honest look at your life. Where have you been accepting less than you are capable of? Where have you allowed habits that contradict your goals? Where have you lowered the bar to avoid discomfort? Then quietly raise it. Raise it in your daily routine. Raise it in your conversations. Raise it in your preparation. Raise it in your commitments. Because the moment you decide that average is no longer acceptable, you step into a different future. And when your standards rise, your life cannot help but rise with them.